All right, here we go. Pizza Buffet live for week 17 in the NFL, presented by FanDuel. I'm Rob Pizzola. I'm a pro sports bettor, CEO here at the Hammer Betting Network. Good morning, everyone in the chat. Alan Lopez, NCI 95, Free 88. Falcons fan, Huckleberry. See a lot of regular faces, some new ones in here as well. Appreciate everyone stopping in this morning. Before we get rolling, some housekeeping items per usual. If you get value out of the show, or if it's part of your weekly routine, just take 2 seconds, hit that like button down below, share it out if you can as well. It's a big thing for us if you're able to share it out. Secondly, we are sponsored by FanDuel here on the program. Love having FanDuel as a sponsor. Big fan of their product. That said, it's Sunday morning in the NFL. Markets are, there's a lot of liquidity to be had out there. So make sure you're getting the best number whenever possible. For a lot of the props I'm going to give out today, best price in market is at FanDuel, including some touchdown scores later on in the show. But overall, just do what you can. Make sure you shop around. Make sure you get good prices, especially if you're betting on Sunday morning. Third, a reminder, I will give you my fair values for every game. There are always going to be spots where I am off market. More likely than not, that means that I'm wrong, not the market. But I'll walk you through my logic, and you can decide for yourself what you want to do. Typically, I'm not firing a lot of bets on Sundays. I sometimes wait for inactives to see if a player is playing or not, things of that nature. But honestly, this is one of the lightest weeks of the season for me, unfortunately. I say that as someone who loves the action, but really couldn't find a ton out there this week and actually had to get off some plays as well. So we'll do our best to navigate this all. And while I'm doing the show, I'm not paying attention to any injury news coming in. Got my phone by my side, not looking at it. There's a few statuses I'm waiting on that would change my numbers from what you see in the show. Most of them are actually O-line or D-line today. So drop any updates as the inactives start to roll in. Guys like Josh Sweat, Yelda Froholt, Wyatt Teller, Aaron Brewer, Jags O-line, Robert Hainsey, Anton Harrison, Bernard Raymond and Sauce Gardner, although I expect those guys in. T-Mac, Teteroa McMillan as well. Late day addition to the injury report, illness report, I should say. RP, appreciate the donation. Hope you're having a good NFL season. Thank you very much for being part of the Pizza Buffet. All right. Let's get into it. Week 17 in the NFL. We'll start it off with Arizona at Cincinnati. Just taking a look at current market prices right now. Cincinnati basically a flat 7 across the board. Total at FanDuel is at 53.5 for this game. And I make this closer to Cincinnati -8. Total roughly 52.5. My strongest lean here is to the Bengals. There are some caveats for this game. The main concern, and it is a real one, is wind. We're potentially looking at sustained winds north of 15 miles an hour today, gusts pushing up into the 30s. That matters for downfield passing. That matters for kicking. In general, that kind of profile can hurt a favorite that wants to throw, which is what the Bengals are in today. Normally, that would push me towards being a little bit more cautious, laying a touchdown. But the reason that I'm still comfortable leaning Cincinnati in this game is Arizona doesn't really have a functional alternative if the passing game is compromised. Their run game just isn't there right now, largely because the offensive line situation is brutal for them. There's a very real chance they're down 4, even potentially all 5 starting offensive linemen again. And that severely limits their ability to control the game on the ground, even though Cincinnati's run defense isn't good on paper. On the Arizona side overall, though, this is a team that I've been comfortable fading for weeks. It's largely because I don't think the market has fully priced in just how extreme the injury situation has become. Like offensively, the line is in shambles. Defensively, they just lost Walter Nolan for the season. Josh Sweat, I went 3 times DNP this week. I don't think he's going to play. Even if he does, probably not effective, even if he's active. Budda Baker's now out in the secondary. Multiple corners on IR. It's just a very thin defense across every single level. And Cincinnati, by contrast, is relatively stable. There's not much new to monitor outsides of BJ Hill on the defensive line. And that matters a bit because their front seven isn't exactly a strength. But overall, this is mostly the same Bengals team we've seen recently. From a matchup standpoint, Arizona can move the ball through the air. Trey McBride's going to get 1 million targets in this game, looking to beat the tight end record against a Bengals defense that's been bad against tight ends. That's the clearest path for Arizona to stay competitive. But Cincinnati's passing offense is in a very strong spot as well. Clean pockets expected all day. Explosive potential against an Arizona secondary that's missing key pieces. I mean, the look ahead on this game was Bengals -5.5. We're now -7. Normally, I'd be cautious chasing that move, but I honestly still don't think that this number fully reflects how depleted Arizona is, especially in the trenches. So this is Bengals or pass for me. You guys, for those who watch every single week, you know that I've kind of been picking on the Cardinals for, 5 or 6 weeks now in some capacity. Not stopping here. I just don't. I think people, you watch Brissett have a few good drives every game, and you get kind of enamored with the fact that they don't look like a terrible team. They really don't look like a terrible team. Defensively, every single time they've taken a step up in class recently, let's take a quick look at this. They've just gotten annihilated. I mean, they gave up 40 to the Texans, 45 to the Rams, 41 to the 49ers. I mean, it's not a semblance of a real defense anymore, is where I'm at. 44 to the Seahawks prior to that. I mean, really, they haven't had a great defensive game since the Cowboys Monday Night Football, and that was almost 2 months ago. From a prop perspective, I like Samaje Perine over on his rushing yards total, 32.5 -112 at FanDuel. That's best price in market. There's a lot of variation on Samaje Perine's rushing yards over. But game script wise, there are a lot of scenarios here where you have a touchdown favorite who is leading late in the game. The snap count split between Perine and Brown has really just tightened up in the latter half of the season. I think the number is marginally too low with Walter Nolan missing on the defensive line for Arizona. So, Bengals and Perine over. All right. Seattle at Carolina next up. Carolina could clinch the NFC South with a win and a Bucs loss. The Seahawks are playing for not only the NFC West, but the NFC's number 1 seed as well. And we're starting to see some Carolina money come into market here on game day. If you do like Carolina, FanDuel has the best price in market on the Panthers at +7 -110. And that's where I'm looking in this game. Obviously, with that said, T-Mac added to the injury report with an illness this morning. That sucks. I'd like to see him active, but from the sounds of things, I mean, I don't always trust Ian Rappaport, rap sheet, but he says that it's nothing to be concerned about. So take that for what it is. The starting point for me is the difference in offensive lines this week. Seattle is likely without they're without Charles Cross for a second straight week. That matters a lot to me personally. I already don't love the Seahawks offensive line, particularly on the interior. Losing your left tackle against I don't want to say a defense that can really stress protection because they can't, but it makes a difference when you're tackle heavy and you lose your starting left tackle. Maybe there's an argument to be made, and I would buy it, that it doesn't matter all that much against Carolina's front, and that's fair. But Seattle's offense has also cooled off as the season's gone on. Teams are doing a better job staying disciplined against the play action looks. They're daring Seattle to prove that they can run it efficiently, which hasn't consistently happened. They've had games where they've run it well, but on a whole, it's been very up or down. On the defensive side for Seattle, there's some quiet attrition there too. Derek Hall's suspended. Kobe Bryant is out at safety for them as well. Neither of those are catastrophic on their own, but together they reduce margin for a road favorite that's laying a touchdown. And then for Carolina, the offensive line picture is improving. They get their left tackle back this week in Ike Ekwonu. They probably will get Robert Hunt back as we get closer to the playoffs. They activated his window as well. that's going to give them a better chance to function offensively. I mean, they had a decent offensive performance last week, but it's big when you have your left tackle in the trenches. Defensively, Turk Wharton is out at defensive tackle for the Panthers for a third straight week, which in my opinion, free agent signing in the offseason, absolutely not a negative in my view. Carolina's run defense, the on-off splits, when Turk Wharton is out there, they are like a historically bad run defense. When he's off the field, they are a well above average run defense. It's a massive split. The bigger concern for me is Trayvon Wallace out at linebacker. Again, that can show up against Seattle, against play action, intermediate throws, especially with the way that Seattle structures their offense. Listen, there's plenty of ways or reasons Carolina could get blown out. They've benefited from a lot of turnover luck recently. Their underlying defensive efficiency numbers are poor. I mean, I account for all of that stuff when I'm making my number. Seattle hasn't exactly been playing clean football either. Asking them to separate on the road with protection issues and a less efficient offense than earlier in the season is where I get hesitant. So structurally, I think Carolina can attack Seattle's weaker run defense. There's a lot of power concepts that are a great matchup for them. That helps them stay on schedule. All that combination of things points to a more competitive game for me than the market suggests. So Carolina +7 is a bet for me. FanDuel's your spot, -110 for that one. From a prop perspective, I do have a couple options here for this game. But FanDuel best in market on Rashid Shaheed receiving yards, and I like him to the over. So we're going to track that at 28.5 -112 at FanDuel. Listen, you could probably play some worse numbers and get away with it here, but ultimately for me, this is kind of a buy low on Shaheed after he got shut out against the Rams. The Seahawks don't deviate much in terms of snap counts. It's pretty much JSN, Cooper Kupp are always on the field, like 90% plus of snaps, and their third receiver, Shaheed, gets about 50% of snaps. Prior to getting shut out, he was getting targeted a bunch. You come off a game with 0. The passing numbers, the receiving yardage totals are suppressed a little bit as well. So I'm going Rashid Shaheed over. I like this as a buy low spot. Matt Afalk. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Matt Afalk. There's no U in there. Like Marshall Falk. I hope I got it right. Thank you for the donation. Appreciate you. Good luck with your bets today, Matt. Goes a long way. Lots of stuff going on today in the market, which makes it a little more interesting doing this show in the morning when there is a lot to be bet here. Pittsburgh at Cleveland. Steelers can clinch the AFC North with a win today. This one's moved a lot back and forth. Obviously, last night's game had something to do with why I think Pittsburgh's taking money today, but I think you can make an argument that all the early money that came to Cleveland pushed this down to 3 flat across the market and got bought up now to 4.5 in a lot of spots, still some 4 out there. So you kind of seen a reversal, but Baltimore winning last night makes this game meaningful for Pittsburgh. Whereas if Baltimore had lost last night, argument to be made that Pittsburgh doesn't really care all that much. Also seen some over money in the last day, up from 34 to 35.5. Weather isn't looking as bad as was once anticipated either for this one. This is tricky because earlier in the week, I bet some Cleveland. That was predicated on the possibility that DK Metcalf would get suspended. He did. It was predicated on the possibility that this game might be meaningless for the Steelers, and it is not at this point. So it's kind of balanced out. My fare in this game is roughly around 3.5. So at this price, it would be Browns or nothing. DK Metcalf being suspended matters, plain and simple. I mean, they're not deep at receiver. They've had to bring in guys like MVS, Adam Thielen. But there are also some quiet positives for Pittsburgh in the last few weeks. Nick Herbig is back on the defensive line. That helps their pass rush quite a bit. That's after Derek Harmon returned last week, which helps the run defense a lot. And given Cleveland's offensive line situation, I mean, hasn't been good. You have a quarterback that holds the ball a long time. You're down to running backs that, frankly, were considered depth running backs at the beginning of the year. There's a legitimate chance that they would struggle to move the ball. Although the big play threat is still always there with the Cleveland offense because they do take some shots downfield. On the other side, you have Isaac Seumalo out again at guard for the Steelers. That's not going to stabilize this offensive line that is thin right now because they're also down to third string left tackle. And this is a solid Browns defensive front. Now, a lot of people are saying the Browns defense has fallen off in recent weeks and it's gotten worse. I think there's a couple things that are at play for Cleveland's defense. First and foremost, losing Malik Collins for the season to a knee injury about a month ago hurt them on the interior in a big way. So that has mattered. Denzel Ward being out for a few weeks as well. If you notice, the Browns have not been able to play their typical style of coverage on the outside without Denzel Ward. I don't think Ward has had a great season, but it's just been a less aggressive defense overall because they didn't have a starting corner on the back end. Now he's back. You don't really have a lot to worry about in the Pittsburgh receiver situation. This is a possibility that, the Browns defense does get going again here. Another concern for me would sit in the Pittsburgh secondary. They're already without James Pierre. Now Brandon Echols is out in the slot. There's some illness floating around in the defensive backfield as well. Jalen Ramsey's going to play, but there's a few situations this week where you had a team dealing with illness over the course of the week. Steelers were one of them. Now, I'm not convinced that the Browns are necessarily equipped to attack that secondary. Their passing offense struggles badly against man coverage. Pittsburgh's comfortable playing man and blitzing behind it as well. The offensive line, as I mentioned, is a problem. Center, right tackle, swing tackle on IR. Wyatt Teller might come back today. I don't know why they would activate him, but he could, which would help. But even then, this is still a compromised group against a very good Steelers defensive front. And that matters a lot in these types of conditions where long developing plays are less likely. And I'm referring to the weather. Weather-wise, it's not great. It's also not a total disaster during the game, though. I mean, there's a chance for rain, moderate winds. It's far better than what the surrounding hours look like right now and after the game. Ultimately, I agree with, listen, once this total got to 34, I mean, that we're getting into like extreme weather type of territory when that's not the case for this particular game. So I get the move to the over. Also understand the Pittsburgh buyback altogether. If I had to do anything at the current market, it'd be Browns or nothing, although things have kind of fundamentally changed just a little bit in this one because of obviously the injury situation. So not the injury situation, the dynamic in terms of the game being a little bit more meaningful for the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, that's 3 games down. We'll get back to the early window in just a second, but make sure you get wrapped up in holiday football and keep every drive interesting with FanDuel's drive same game parlays. Now you can bet on what happens on each drive. It's going to end in a touchdown, a field goal, a stop. You stack in player props like rushing yards, receptions, who's going to find the end zone next. You build your bet exactly how you see it in real time as the game unfolds. And if you're new to FanDuel, there's even more gifts under the tree because new customers get $250 in bonus bets if your $5 bet wins. 215 bonus bets if your $5 bet wins. So whether you're betting the next drive, the next player to score, the next big moment, make every snap count with FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/forward progress to join today. That's FanDuel.com/forward progress. You must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, an affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. 18 plus and present in DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real wager money only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets. They expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. Terms are at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem, 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit rg-help.com. 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, 1-877-8-HOPE-NY, or text HOPE-NY in New York. Kind of buried the lead today with the Myles Garrett potentially getting the sack record as well, which, I think the team will get up for if that's the case. All right. Got a million tabs open here and might be lagging every now and then. So going to try to close some of those, making sure that I keep you guys updated in real time on the prices there. I see questions about the Philly-Buffalo movement, bunch of stuff. Let's just keep going through it. New Orleans and Tennessee, another game where we saw some, I think, late evening money last night into the early morning today. And it was Tennessee catching 2.5, now down to 1.5. Total also got all the way up to 40. And then that was kind of a resistance point and got bet down. For context, if you don't watch every single piece of content on this channel, we did grab some over 38.5 on the Sunday reset last week. At that number, it made sense. I think at 39.5, it's extremely marginal. But that would be, I guess, the closest thing I have to a lean in this game. Structurally, I think this game is very interesting because both teams are healthy on one side of the ball and pretty banged up on the other. So for Tennessee, the offense is as healthy as it's been all season, outside of Calvin Ridley being on IR. And that's shown up recently with more functional offensive performances compared to earlier in the year. The problem is on defense, particularly in the secondary. They lost another corner in Marcus Harris. Both Kevin Winston and Xavier Woods are on IR at safety. They were added there last week. You add to that multiple corners traded away earlier in this season. This is a very thin defensive backfield right now. And on the Saints side, it's almost the exact opposite. Defensively, outside of Brian Brzee, who's out at defensive tackle, they're in really good shape. Offensively is where it's a grind for them. Cesar Ruiz is out again at guard, kind of like a replacement level guard. But remember, Eric McCoy has been on IR for a while at center. So the interior offensive line, it remains a problem for them. And on top of that, the skill position attrition, it keeps piling up. Like, I can't even believe like Foster Moreau, who we bet for anytime touchdown last week, got hurt, right? It normally wouldn't matter. Devon Vele, Devin Neal, like these guys being on IR, these are not big names, but you consider, Kendry Miller went on IR earlier in the year. Alvin Kamara has been out. Rashid Shaheed got traded. None of these individually are devastating, but collectively, it does limit how creative and explosive that this offense can be. From a matchup standpoint, I think Tennessee can move the ball on the ground with a lot of inside zone. That is a concept they like to run a lot. The Saints defense can be vulnerable there as well. Saints defense is better than people give them credit for, but there is a vulnerability there. It's one of the schematic advantages that kind of like pops a bit when you look at the matchup. New Orleans, meanwhile, they're more likely going to rely on some man run concepts. They'll stress the short and intermediate areas against Tennessee. I don't know. It's really tough because I can see inconsistent offense, but obvious paths to success for both of these teams as well. Weather is a small variable here. Wind could be more of a factor than rain. It does cap like ceiling outcomes a little bit, but overall, not a ton to do here. More interested in just seeing these quarterbacks at this point. I think both of them have gotten a lot better as the year's gone on. And I know a lot of people in the chat who ended up hitting Tyler Shuck, Offensive Rookie of the Year, at some big prices, who'll be looking for a big game there today as well. I played Chiggy Okonkwo over 2.5 receptions. Right now, minus 142 at FanDuel. Best price I see is minus 135. If you're not into laying minus 142, or you're like, you're scared of the juice or the vig or whatever like that on stuff like that, receiving yards is a decent comp. I just prefer the receptions, but 25.5 receiving yards, minus 112 at FanDuel. There's some 23.5s in market as well. Chiggy Okonkwo over for me. Kind of really has come to life as the year's gone on here. 8 and 6 targets in the last 2 games, being way more involved in the offense. So that's where I'm going. Actually, lots of overs on props today, rather than unders. Actually, I think we bet way more overs than unders this year. It's kind of been it's markets change over time. 3-4 years ago, I was betting like exclusively unders, and now you can actually find some value on overs. All right. Tampa Bay at Miami is next up. More market movement on this one today. Miami catches some money this morning. There were some 6s out there and mostly 5.5s. That's down to 4.5, even some 4 across the board. Total continues to get bet down. FanDuel's down below 44 at 43.5. We did see a brief spot where the market went down across the board to 43.5 before some spots started getting back up to 44. I think a lot of the total coming down is tied to Tristan Wirfs being ruled out at left tackle for Tampa. Plus, there's obviously continued skepticism around Miami's offense with Quinn Ewers starting again. Xesh in the chat says Ewers was very good. I don't know if that's sarcasm or not, because I did not think he was very good. I thought it was a pretty rough debut. It's a tough game to make a number for in particular. I'm obviously very jaded after betting Miami last week. It was one of probably the worst bets I've made all year. I'd say it's a top 5 for sure, where I'd like really want to have that back. A lot of guesswork into what Ewers was going to be. And I'm looking at this now. I've been pretty low on market for Tampa recently, like for a while. And losing Wirfs is a real downgrade to them. But there's no way I'm going to bet Miami at this price. Like, if anything, it'd still be Tampa or nothing to me. When I'm looking at Miami, I'm just not convinced they're equipped to fully take advantage of a Tristan Wirfs injury. And honestly, I have no idea how to price this Quinn Ewers offense. I don't. Miami's pass rush has fallen off significantly late in the season. Watching them, this is, again, it's not priced into my number. It's just something I notice with my eyes. It's hard not to notice that the effort level is potentially slipping there. Could be nothing, could be something. I don't know. Tampa also loses Anthony Nelson at edge, which thins them out further at edge. They're not a great edge rushing team, but this still doesn't feel like a game where Miami's just going to consistently win up front and the quarterback's consistently going to make throws. On the defensive side, the biggest issue is Minkah Fitzpatrick missing again. Without him, they have looked completely disorganized on the back end. Blown coverages everywhere last week. That's dangerous against the Tampa offense that I believe can still push the ball vertically, even if protection isn't perfect, although we haven't seen that in a while. So I don't know. Offensively for Miami, obviously Ewers is the big variable. This is going to be a second start. Last week didn't inspire much confidence. The offensive line health matters a lot here. Keep an eye on their center, Aaron Brewer, who's questionable. I've essentially split the difference in my numbers here, assuming about 50% chance he plays. If he's out, that's a meaningful downgrade, particularly for a rookie quarterback where the center, QB exchange, and interior protection are very critical. Overall, I just don't see a strong bet here. I lean to Tampa. I wouldn't be firing on this now. My confidence level in pricing this game is extremely low because it just comes down to, I guess, what you make Ewers at this point. And you can get a really wide range of what that could possibly be. From a prop perspective, for this one, there's a couple ways I can go here. That one moved a little bit, so I don't really. We're going to pass on props for this game. This one's going to be a pass. Just don't want to give something out past the range where I originally liked it. All right. Tet McMillan doesn't want to be called Tet. I keep saying it. T-Mac, Tetaroa McMillan, active. That is good. I mean, expected, I would say, but also good news for the Carolina Panthers. who I've placed some money on today. Next up, Jacksonville at Indianapolis in the AFC South. Colts money this morning, and lots of it. Wow, but like board really getting steamed a lot this morning, which I always find intriguing. Jacksonville down to 4.5 in market. Total at FanDuel's 48.5. Some spots at 49. My only real position in this game is towards the over. I gave that out earlier in the week on Tuesday Best Bets. I've downgraded my total slightly since then due to some offensive line uncertainty, but the over is still the only thing I'm interested in at the current number. This game has a lot of moving parts. Starting with Indy, the biggest surprise for me was Sauce Gardner trending towards playing. I didn't think that was going to actually happen this week. He'd been out for 3 straight weeks with a calf injury. He opened the week DNP, limited Thursday, then full on Friday. That's very clearly an upgrade in the secondary. But they do lose DeForest Buckner for the season. Came back from injury, re-injured his neck last week. That's a massive loss for the middle of the defense. So it somewhat offsets. On the Colts offensive line, Tanner Bortolini is out at center. It's a big loss, but it was expected. The bigger swing is Bernard Raymond at left tackle, probably returning today. You'll have to let me know in the chat if he's officially active, but that helps offset the center loss a little bit. If Raymond is not in there, you downgrade the over, don't play it. But if he's there, it offsets the loss of Bortolini. For Jacksonville, they lose their slot corner, Jordan Lewis, for the season. I think that's actually a sneaky important loss. Maybe I'm a Homer Cowboys fan. Jordan Lewis used to be, but particularly with Travis Hunter already on IR, that's going to open up the middle of the field a little bit more, creates targets for Indy's passing game as well. Jacksonville's offensive line hasn't been an issue most of the year. Now they're dealing with some clustering inside. Patrick McCarry is out at right guard. Robert Hainsey is managing a groin injury at center. Right tackle, Anton Harrison, popped up this morning with an illness and is questionable. So that's something to monitor. We could see more Colts money. I mean, I think we just saw a bunch of it. So, but if any of those combos are ruled out, I would imagine more Colts money, more under money in this game. Quarterback-wise, it's still hard to fully value Indianapolis. Like, I don't know how to do it with Phillip Rivers. It's tough. Against Seattle, he lived underneath, played extremely conservatively. Against San Fran, he pushed it downfield more. Even if the arm strength isn't what it used to be, I'm expecting something closer to that second approach here, especially against the Jacksonville defense that I personally think is playing above their personnel. I don't really have to talk about the other side. Jacksonville's offense, really good. Since the Jacoby Myers trade, the passing game has taken a huge step forwards. Indoors against a Colts defense without Buckner, they should be able to score. Personally, think the market's gone a little bit too much towards the Colts for a second straight week. Saw tons of Colts money against the 49ers, didn't end well. Not saying it can't end well here, but it has pushed quite a bit. So leans towards the Jags and the over in this one at this point. From a props perspective, I like Brian Thomas Jr. over 3.5 receptions. Gotta be plus money, which it pretty much is across the board. We're going to grade this at plus 104 at FanDuel. You can find some plus 115, plus 114 out there. Again, a situation where I'm buying the dip. Wire-to-wire win over Denver last week. He wasn't involved in like a lot of the early passing game, so he ended up with a really low output because Jacksonville was leading the rest of the way. Taking a shot here. Over 3.5 receptions, indoors, good conditions for a passing game. That's where I'm going. Brian Thomas Jr. All right, before we get to the next game, lots of stuff to go. Josh Sweat is active, so is Max Melton. Max Melton was expected. Josh Sweat, 3 times DNP. Don't like him being active, but we'll monitor that one. Wyatt Teller active for the Browns. That is a solid one. TX Supreme says, Hammer Tet unders. Reported Tet was very sick this morning. I don't know. The reporting is very weird. At the end of the day, I don't know about that. It was pretty mixed. I think they had to add him to the injury report by rule. But you know what? Generally speaking, not a bad idea. Players come in with pre-existing injuries. More likely than not, I would like to play them under than over. Kilkenny, appreciate you at the $25 donation. Estimate rushing yards. Taysom Hill send-off game, last game, winding down today. Dylan Sampson receptions. Malachi Corley anytime TD. Corey Kiner TD. Peace and love. Okay. I don't know why you guys are giving this guy slack. Whatever. He runs a Discord, and I pretty regularly. I think he's given out some good opinions in the past. Don't hate me or not. Whatever. With these, I thought about going back to Evan Hull today. Obviously, he only got 5 carries for 3 yards last week. Was a losing prop play. I really thought that Estime Hall would split carries and Taysom Hill had a big role, which I should have saw coming, but I didn't see coming. I don't hate Estime rushing yards. I played Malachi Corley anytime TD. I want to see what the prices are now, but I think I played 10-1, I want to say. 11-1 possibly. So I don't mind that look at all. Corey Kiner was very borderline for me. My fair price on him was plus 498, and I saw 5-1 this morning. So that one, I guess, is like very, very slightly plus EV. But yeah, borderline on that one. Okay, Patriots and Jets. Patriots clinched the AFC East with a win and a Bills loss. Market has kind of held steady in this game this week. Starting to see one sharp book move off of 13.5 to 13. But for the most part, it's been 13.5 and the total around 42.5 all week. I am pretty off market here on both the side and the total. I like the Jets as a big underdog. I like the over as well. Let me be clear up front. Very clear. There is a real talent gap between these teams. I am making one of the teams an 11.5 point favorite in the game. I'm not pretending that there isn't. I'm well aware that the Jets are a mess. They're trending the wrong way. New England's playing for the top seed in the AFC. Brady Cook has taken 17 sacks on 32 pressures over the last 2 weeks. There is absolutely a world where the Jets offense just collapses again. That outcome is very much on the table. Where I disagree with the market is how New England's defense is being treated at the current number. Their front seven has been hit hard by injuries. Robert Spillane is out again at linebacker. He is a very good run defender, really strong tackler at linebacker. On defensive line, Milton Williams is still not ready to return. Kyrus Tonga is out at nose tackle. Joshua Farmer has been put on IR. Harold Landry is now out at edge. That is a lot of erosion up front. It matters against any team in the league, but it also matters against a Jets offense that at least wants to run and throw quickly. New England also took some real blows offensively last week. Jared Wilson is out at left guard with a concussion. Their left tackle, Will Campbell, remains on IR. The receiving group is thinned out. Matt Collins got put on IR. Keyshawn Booty's out. Demario Douglas banged up. Travion Henderson coming off a concussion as well. None of that's going to break the offense because their quarterback is amazing, but it does slightly cap how clean and explosive they can be. Now, on the Jets side, the defense is also battered. Will McDonald's on IR. The secondary's thin. There's been a lot of talent lost to IR, even trades throughout the season. New England should move the ball. That's not the argument. I don't think that they're going to just fall off a cliff offensively. The argument is that 13.5 is a lot in a divisional game on the road in cold December conditions against a Jets team that still has some home field energy in these types of games. At least in the past, they have. Even if New England controls the game, the injury situation on defense, it opens the door for the Jets to contribute more than the market expects, in my opinion. I lean Jets plus the points. I lean over as well. If you want to isolate it, I know this is opposite what Durso just put in the chat, but I think Jets team total over is probably where I see the cleanest edge in this game. Of course, there's real blowout risk here. At this price, I'm just going to trust my number. Played some Jets this week. That's where I'm at. From a prop perspective, Brady Cook played him over on pass yards at 166.5, minus 112, FanDuel. If you're already on the Jets, this might be double dipping. They're like somewhat correlated. I like all the handicaps mixed together. I looked at Adonai Mitchell over 3.5 receptions as well, which was plus money. I mean, look at his targets since coming to the Jets: 6, 7, 12, 6, 9, 6. You're getting plus money on over 3.5 receptions. These are both possibilities. Maybe you don't want to tie it all together to a Jets positive outcome if you already bet the Jets. That's where I'm out on that. All right. Over 1,900 watching across multiple platforms right now. If you are watching on X, please do me a favor. Just retweet it out, share it with your friends. It goes a long way. Of course, if you are on YouTube, just smash that like button. Please smash that like button. If you've enjoyed the show this season, this channel's helped you, even a little bit, I'd really appreciate it if you also subscribe. We've had a great year here. This is not to do like the Barry Horowitz pat on the back. It's not just me. Guys like Austin Mock from The Athletic, G-Stack George, Suma. I mean, the entire team have put in a ton of work week after week this year to make this one of the most useful betting channels out there. Hitting subscribe is the simplest way to support all of that effort. We're closing in on 10K subs. That extra push genuinely makes a difference, both for the channel and for the algorithm. So again, if you're watching on X, a quick retweet helps as well. Really appreciate everyone who's supported us this season. All right, back into the games. Colts beat writers have inactives. Bernard Raymond is active. Yeah, someone in the chat earlier was saying that he was ruled out earlier in the week. I think they were referring to last week when that happened. But all right, that doesn't change anything there. I had him in 2 games in the late window, which, like, come on, NFL, what are we doing here? Could have went 6-3 instead of 7-2. Would have made a lot more sense, especially since one of the 2 games in the late window is, the Tank Bowl. But let's start with Philly and Buffalo. Tons of movement on this game. Buffalo basically being bet today like someone knows the final score. Like a lot of money on Buffalo today. They are now a 3 in market. There is a plus 150 money line now available out there on Philly. FanDuel's at 138. Total also, after getting bet down earlier in the week, has got bet back up towards the over. This is a buy point on Philadelphia. Now, first and foremost, you have to know that there's going to be some inclement weather in this game. It is probably going to piss rain throughout. I'm just pulling this from Kevin Roth's report, but the National Weather Service has issued a flood watch from 1 p.m. Sunday all the way through Monday afternoon. That doesn't mean that the heaviest rain comes in game, but it does tell us something about the nature of the rain, which is very, very heavy. All right. I thought the market price was pretty fair last night. Without a doubt now, I like the Eagles. A few things have changed over the course of the week. On the Eagles side, I expected Lane Johnson to return this week. That hasn't happened. He's not even practicing. Something's going on with Lane Johnson. He's still out with that foot injury, and that's a meaningful hit to the O-line. At the same time, they do get Jalen Carter back on the D-line. Even if he's not at 100%, his presence alone, maybe for half the snaps, it affects how Philly can defend the run. It affects how they can collapse the pocket. I am somewhat concerned about him being limited. I mean, a month ago, the guy couldn't even do a push-up because his shoulders were so mangled. But we're at this now. Buffalo's defensive injuries are concerning to me. Daquan Jones is out again. Missed some time earlier in the year. That continues to be a season-long problem for them up front. Their run defense has suffered badly as those interior injuries have piled up. They're also down Jordan Poyer at safety. Given how much injury attrition they've had on the back end, they're thin at safety. They're thin at defensive tackle right now. I like Buffalo's offense a whole lot more than Philly's, but these defensive injuries have piled up for the Bills this season. From a matchup standpoint, both teams should be able to run the ball. Buffalo has the more efficient rushing offense. Philly has the stronger rush defense. So those edges kind of cancel out. What I do like for Philly is how they've reintroduced Jalen Hurts as a runner recently. They talked about doing this for a long time. It wasn't happening in games. I don't want to put too much stock into games against the Commanders and the Raiders. But even if the competition wasn't great the last couple of weeks, Buffalo's current run defense is not well positioned to shut down like the dual threat. Weather's the big wild card here. If we do get heavy rain that some of the models are showing, that caps passing efficiency. I think it raises variance a little bit. You tend to get more fumbles in games where the ball is wet. That makes it harder to have like a super strong opinion. And of course, I'm be fading like a huge market move. Like we're talking a lot of money, right? I mean, if we just look at limits on this game on the side, Circa's 115,000 right now. Pinnacle's 100,000. That's multiple clicks at like every sharp spot. We're talking seven figures. But at Philly's a buy at +3 for me. Philly's a buy +3. All right. Giants and Raiders, the Tank Bowl. Giants now hitting 3 in some spots. FanDuel still an expensive 2.5. Total in the game, 40.5 at FanDuel, 41 in some other spots as well. Listen, I do lean Raiders at the adjusted price. This is just not going to be a bet for me. I mean, even at the 3s, I'm just not. Think about the week, right? Early in the week, money comes in on the Raiders. I'm talking on Sunday Reset last week. I'm like, there's a lot of upside in betting the Raiders right now. You got left tackle Andrew Thomas, center John Michael Schmitz, probably out for the Giants. But then we got the Raiders shutting Brock Bowers down for the season out of nowhere. Not saying Brock Bowers hasn't been dealing with something this year, but that was, out of nowhere. Then they decided to shut Max Crosby down despite him wanting to play. That's a pretty loud signal to me, right? Of what the team's intentions are. And Crosby being out completely changes how you'd want to attack the Giants. Because New York's offensive line is compromised. With Crosby, that's a disaster matchup. Without Crosby, the Raiders, they don't have another edge rusher who can consistently win and disrupt the pocket. So while those offensive line injuries matter, they still matter a lot less in this specific matchup. That's the reason the Giants steamed all the way to this price. At that number, I don't really want anything to do with the game. From a matchup perspective, it's ugly football. The Giants could potentially get back to hitting some explosives through the air here. Vegas plays a lot of zone looks. There's some man concepts on the ground that should work for the Giants, where Tyrone Tracy has looked rejuvenated. Raiders might have the ability to run the ball because the Giants' defense is so bad. It's a tough one. But honestly, we don't have to bet every game. And at the end of the day, I just don't want anything to do with this one because I question the motivation for either one of these teams going into it. And if the Raiders are willing to shut down their best offensive and defensive player for the season, who knows what they're willing to do in game to make sure that guys aren't out on the field. And that's kind of where I'm at for this one. Smaller play here because of the O-line stuff, but I've been hitting some Tyrone Tracy rushing yards over, and FanDuel's got the only 58.5 I see right now, or at least the best 58.5 I see right now on the over for Tyrone Tracy, which is, in my opinion, a pretty solid look. 58.5. I mean, he's already exceeded this number 5 of the last 6 games. The only loss versus this number was the Patriots Monday Night Football game. He went 10 for 36. They trailed pretty much the entirety of that game. He surpassed Devin Singletary on the depth chart. There's no point in seeing what you got in Devin Singletary anymore at this point. Final game of the season. Plus, I mean, the Giants, they just want to run the ball now. It's kind of what they've become. I was thinking of Wandale under receptions, but I like Tyrone Tracy over a bit more. All right, before we get into tonight's Bears 49ers game, quick reminder, right after Sunday Night Football, we are live right back here on Forward Progress with Sunday Reset. Clive is away on vacation. He was at the Pop-Tarts Bowl yesterday, saw him down on the field. It's me and G-Stack George tonight, breaking down the entire NFL day. What mattered, what didn't, injury fallout. We're going to turn the page to next week. We're going to look for early value on the board. That'll be fun, navigating through the Week 18 mess in real time. If you never checked it out before, it's not too late. Make sure you tune in tonight, right after Sunday Night Football, here on Forward Progress. All right. Chicago, San Fran tonight. This morning, we woke up to a little bit of news that it's highly unlikely that George Kittle will play in this game. Saw a bit of a tick towards the Bears before market went right back towards San Fran. 3.5 across the board. This total's come down a lot in the last day. Bet down to 51.5. All right. At a high level, I don't have a ton of separation between these teams right now. San Francisco's offense has been incredible. They haven't punted in December. 2 games, but still impressive. Brock Purdy's playing at an elite level. They could get Ricky Pearsall back, which helps. Kittle is a different conversation. Him being out, and I'm assuming out at this point, he's not just a pass catcher. He's a structural piece of this offense, especially over the middle, especially in the run game. With him out, that is a real downgrade that in games in the past where Kittle's been out, I don't know that it's always fully priced correctly, or at least I believe that he is worth more than the market tends to react to. Defensively, I'll say this for the 49ers. Things are better than they were a month ago. They're still missing key names on IR. A lot of the depth has returned for them, at least. The issue is that the pass rush still isn't consistently there. They don't blitz much, which matters against the Bears offense that they're comfortable playing from clean pockets. On the Chicago side, Rome Odunze still out. They get Luther Burden back. That gives them a legitimate secondary option next to DJ Moore. That matters against a San Fran defense that struggled against deep shots since midseason. They also struggle a lot against outside runs and defending those. That's like the exact profile that Ben Johnson has leaned heavily into. And I got to tell you, having a smart, offensive-minded head coach with extra time to prepare is always something that I valued a lot. Always. My biggest concern for Chicago is that the flu is going around through the team. There's clearly an illness that's been going around through the secondary. It's making its way to other positional groups. If you saw the Bears board the team playing yesterday, they all had masks. They're trying to prevent some sort of outbreak. And that in and of itself is not something that I can ever accurately price. So to me, this is a Chicago or nothing. I gave you my raw number in the game, which is right around a field goal. I would ordinarily like the Bears plus 3.5. I took the Bears off a lot of my contest entries last minute yesterday because of the flu situation. And candidly, if I hadn't already bet some Chicago, I don't know that I could pull the trigger in real time right now based off of that. That's the truth. Maybe I would have just reduced the play size or something like that. Lost a prop last week on the 49ers. Going to go back to the well on Brian Robinson. Current market is 20.5 rush yards at FanDuel, minus 112. Got cucked in that game by the Colts having some like long, prolonged drives that really reduced the amount of possessions in the game. Brian Robinson's they are steadily using him, right? It's been very consistent on a week-to-week basis. McCaffrey gets a certain number of plays, then it's Brian Robinson time, no matter where they're at on the field. And typically he's racking up, 7, 8, 9 carries. He only got 5 against Indy on Monday Night Football. They're not going to deviate from that. I don't think that just because this is a bigger game that Brian Robinson doesn't see the field. personally. So I think 20.5 rush yards is low here. Looking for something in the 7, 8, potentially 9 carries range would be very nice for that as a whole. No graphic prepped for Monday Night Football because at the time when we were putting together the graphics yesterday, obviously we had some late football games that we were watching and stuff like that. Didn't have final injury reports. But now as it stands, I'll just tell you, Monday Night Football market has kind of come down to 7.5 everywhere for Atlanta. My fare on the game is pretty much right at 7. Like it's a 7.0. I like Atlanta getting the hook at 7.5. This is the first time in a while where we're seeing the depth of the Rams get tested. They've had some cornerback injuries that they've had to deal with this year. You know, Akello Witherspoon kind of hasn't been the same since coming back. Quentin Lake's been on IR, Roger McCreary. But now, you know, almost certainly Devontae Adams is not going to play again. You have Kevin Dotson out at guard, who's been one of the best guards in football this year. Their left tackle, Alaric Jackson, is really in doubt for this game. Braden Fiskey's very beat up on the defensive line. So, like, this is a team that is very, very good in the trenches that is starting to suffer some injuries in the trenches right now. And I think Atlanta continues to be underrated in market at this point. So that's where I'm at on the Monday Night Football game. I like the Atlanta Falcons. All right. Wow, lots of good chat today. Saw some slander for G-Stack George. Come on, Tay24. G-Stack is great, man. I don't know what the hate is for G-Stack. Of anyone that I've ever encountered in my entire life, I don't think anyone consumes as much ball as G-Stack. I mean, we're talking football every day. He's putting together newsletters with injury reports. We're in the Discord pretty active. Come on, man. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion, for sure. It is what it is. Insanely overrated. It's pretty mixed crowd. Pretty mixed crowd. Really quick plug too before I get to anytime touchdowns. I always got my Discord open on my monitor to the right here. Discord.gg/hammer. I know a lot of people DM me on Twitter. Whatever Twitter did with this chat feature, it's a friggin' disaster now. I'm involved in the conversation on our Discord in the NFL channel. If you want to get into the conversation, you want to ask questions, you want to chat with a lot of the guys who are in this current chat, make your way over to our Discord. It's that simple. It's that simple. I think overwhelmingly pro G-Stack, but a very, very wide range. Very wide range of what people are thinking. All right, let's do this. Anytime touchdown scores. And again, I want to make sure that I'm getting people good prices here. Last week, we took some big time shots, okay? And you know, we weren't super successful. And when I say super successful, we lost all of them. It's been a great year. I mean, I could probably take 50 shots today and we'd still be up on the season. So let's start with one of the favorites, so to speak. One of the favorites. Let's go to Tampa Bay, Miami. Tampa Bay, Miami. And we're going to play Bucky Irving plus 145 at FanDuel. I do know that this is off market a little bit. 135 would be okay as well. My fare is, let me pull it up here. Bucky Irving, 119. So at the top end of the board, I know people message me all the time. They're like, give me some top end guys. All right, there you go. Bucky Irving is the top end guy. Numero uno. Next up, let's go to that mid-tier. Let's go a little mid-tier. We're going to play two from the same game. We're going to go to the New England, New York Jets game. We're going to play two here. Now, I woke up this morning, went into the Discord. I thought that there was one anytime touchdown score that was really, really off, which was Kyle Williams. That number is gone. Again, it's just a shameless plug for the Discord. But I'm going to give you one player from each side that I like in this game. From the Jets side, Adonai Mitchell plus 370. Too good to pass that up with the amount of targets that he gets for this offense. You might say, Rob, the Jets might not score. You might be right. But I simulate out these games. I'm a little bit biased towards the Jets offense today. I like Adonai Mitchell plus 370. For the Patriots, we're going to go Austin Hooper. We'll track at FanDuel's price at plus 500. There is a plus 650 out there. I always do want to alert people because I do want you to get good prices. But from that game, Adonai Mitchell, Austin Hooper. Now let's go longer shots. There's some options here. Let's go with a very, very long shot. All right. New Orleans and Tennessee is where we're going to go. Shop this one. Again, FanDuel's priced this player at 20-1. You can get 28-1 out there. Definitely makes a difference. Even if you're going to throw, $5 on it, $10 matters a lot in the payouts. Probably not going to win. Moliki Matavao of the New Orleans Saints. Moliki, if you never heard of him before, don't worry, because I hadn't either till he started getting some snaps last week. Played like a quarter of the snaps last week. It's anyone's guess as to what the Saints skill position players are going to look like. Moliki Matavao. We'll track it officially at 20-1. Find yourself 21's fine, but you can find yourself some better prices. And let's go to one last spot. Let's go Seattle, Carolina. And we are going to play Bryce Young at 9-1 FanDuel. 10-1 is the best I see out there. Anything 9-1 or better on Bryce Young is going to be fine. So a recap of the 5 that I've given out today: Bucky Irving, Adonai Mitchell, Austin Hooper, Moliki Matavao, and Bryce Young. And man, do you guys bet these ones quick. In real time. All right. Joey Sanchez says, can you recap games and totals, please? Yes. Really quickly, I can go through the board and give very quick thoughts. Tampa Bay and Miami, I don't have a strong feel for this game. My numbers lean towards Tampa Bay in the over. Frankly, I'm just guessing on Quinn Ewers at this point. I'd prefer not to play it. New England, New York Jets. This is where I'm the most off market. I like the Jets and the over in this game. I have a stronger opinion on the Jets subjectively. Again, if you don't want to play both, totally fine. Jets team total over, something along those lines, I think is totally fine. Pittsburgh and Cleveland at 4.5, it'd be Cleveland or nothing. I think now that the total's back up to 35.5, there's not much more room there. Arizona, Cincinnati, Bengals have been the one all week where, it's kind of hung around this price. I'm a little bit off on that. I like the Bengals -7. New Orleans, Tennessee, no real strong opinion. Biggest lean would be towards the over in this game. It's very minor, though. I mean, Jacksonville has just hit 3.5 at a sharp book against Indianapolis. I don't know what's happening there. I got to just check the offensive line injuries. I'm not sure if anything else has happened, if like Anton Harrison, multiple injuries or something like that. But that's almost certainly going to get a click for me right when this show is done. Lean Jacksonville at those prices. Again, maybe I'm not caught up to speed exactly with the inactives there. Seattle, Carolina. This one's come off 7 now, so there's nothing left to do in that game. If you see flat 7s, that's where I bet Carolina. Giants, Las Vegas, I'm not betting this with, Brett Feinsod's money, basically. NBA Green Beans said here, take my money. I'd be like, no, just put it somewhere else. Philly, Buffalo. Eagles 3 is a buy for me. I will bet it. It's game day. Don't love to do that, but I think there's value in 3. Chicago, San Fran, numbers wise, lean Bears, but flu situation, I might as well just wait till last minute at this point to make sure that there's no weird late inactives or anything in that game. Monday Night Football, I like Atlanta. All right. A little bit over time today. I thought we'd run quicker because of less games, but sometimes I just Sometimes I talk too much. Almost 2,500 of you tuned in today across all platforms. Thank you. Kyle Smith actually says, gave me the info. Hainsey is inactive along with Makari. So center, right guard, and right tackle dealing with an illness. Probably not going to fire on that Jacksonville bet. It's going to be borderline. I'll rerun it and see what it is, but it will be borderline at this point. That's a wrap for the Pizza Buffet. Huge thank you to everyone who tuned in. If you jumped in the chat, always appreciate you spending part of your Sunday with me. If you enjoyed the show, you got any value out of it, hit the like button. Consider sharing it around. I tell you, word of mouth genuinely helps us grow more than anything else. Shout out to our presenting sponsor, FanDuel. Big thank you to our producer this week, Mike Bennett, for keeping everything running smoothly behind the scenes. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, everyone. Good luck with your bets. I'll see you back here tonight on Forward Progress for the Sunday reset right after Sunday Night Football. Peace out, everyone.